Coming to my channel to watch this video. This video is going to cover the arrest of James Brenner, aka Jim, who used to be a farmhand for Dylan Rounds. Dylan Rounds is a 19-year-old young man missing from Lucin, Utah. He has not been seen or heard from in over a month. Jim was arrested on June 20th for illegal firearm possession. Jim is also the caretaker of the land where Dylan Rounds' grain shed was located and presumably the location where Dylan Rounds disappeared. On May 28th, Dylan Rounds' grandmother gave him a call at 6:51 in the morning, and Dylan told her that his grain truck was full of seed, and because of a storm coming, he had to get it into the grain shed so that the seed didn't get wet. That was the last time anyone heard from him. The grain truck was found in the shed, so it seems like he made it there, but he's completely vanished. There's also information from a reliable source that Jim was seen wearing Dylan's hat. On June 30th, Nate Eaton from East Idaho News broke the story that on June 29th, paperwork was filed for James Brenner's arrest. In that paperwork, it says that Jim was a squatter on the land and that he had possession of illegal firearms because he was a felon that was not supposed to have possession of the firearms. What I have for you today are court papers that, as far as I know, nobody has seen. They are from June 23rd and June 27th regarding Jim's arrest. I'm going to go ahead and pull those up and read them. It says James A. Brenner, and it gives a address for Bismarck, North Dakota. I looked that up on Google, and it went to a hotel, so it was really odd. It says the undersigned, as prosecuting attorney, states on information and belief that the above-named defendant in Box Elder County, state of Utah, committed the following crimes. Count 1, purchase, transfer, possession, or use of a firearm by restricted persons, a third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code. As follows, that on or about June 20th, 2022, the defendant did, being then a Category 2 restricted person, intentionally or knowingly purchase, transfer, possess, use, or have under the person's custody or control any firearm. It goes on to count 2, which is something similar to count 1. And then on the following page, it goes to count 3, which is similar to the prior 2. It's dated June 23rd of 2022. And then at the bottom, it says factual basis / probable cause. While interviewing potential witness regarding a missing person, deputies learned that defendant had asked one of the witnesses to hold 3 black powder guns for him because he was a felon and he didn't want police taking them if they did search his property. The witness turned 3 guns over to deputies. A search of the defendant's trailer led to the discovery of ammunition, powder, and caps that matched the calibers of the 3 guns. Defendant has numerous felony federal convictions, making him a Category 2 restricted person. Now I'm going to go to the second one. This one says, I, Kevin Potter, Sheriff of Box Elder County, do hereby certify that I received the within and foregoing summons on the 27th day of June, 2022, to be served on James A. Brenner. It says down here at the bottom, service attempted on the 27th day of June, 2022, served at Baso County Jail. On the second page, this shows the probable cause arrest order, and it lists the 3 charges again. And at the top of the page, it says June 27th. One other thing that I noticed is the news and the other coverage of like the arrest. I see everyone referring to him as a 59-year-old. He's not 59, he's 58. I'll go ahead and show you Box Elder County official inmate information for him. So it says he's a 58-year-old male. He was born in December, so at the end of this year, he'll be 59, but he's not 59 yet. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you guys his prior history. he's been arrested for similar illegal firearm possessions several times in the past. So it all began, as far as I can tell, back in, all right, I'll go ahead and just read it to you. In or before June 2011 in District of North Dakota, James A. Brenner, having been convicted of the following crimes punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. 1. Malicious shooting in circuit court for Prince George's County, Maryland, on or about October 2nd, 1986. And 2. Possession of a firearm by a felon in state court, Aroostook County, Maine, on or about August 3rd, 1990. Did knowingly possess in and affecting commerce firearms, that is. And then it lists like 15 guns. If you see at the top, it says that it was filed October 27th of 2011. And then this just shows more of the guns that he had. And then it just reiterates what was on the first page. But he was also arrested 11 days later in Nebraska for the same charges. So it seems like he has a habit of illegal firearm possession. I'm going to go ahead and look at my notes real quick. There's a lot to cover. So on June 21st, Zab Girl did an interview with Dylan Round's mom, Candace Cooley, and she explained that Dylan was in the process of buying the land where the grain shed was located because, as I explained in my first video, Dylan Rounds lived 5 miles away in a camper from the grain shed. So he was in the process of buying the land that the grain shed was located on, but it's also the land where Jim was squatting. So eventually Dylan would have ended up owning that land. And then my next note is, so there was a interview that Crime Time with Jess did with Kurt Wadsworth. Kurt Wadsworth, if you've been watching this case, his name has been mentioned a lot. So she did an interview with him, and he explained how Jim ended up out on that land. So he said that Jim had been into 2 fights with locals, like fist fights, it sounds like. So the owner of the land where the grain shed was located kind of sent him out there to be the caretaker to keep him preoccupied and away from the townspeople. So it sounds like to me that he's a hothead. And then the last thing on my notes is, well, it's not the last thing on my notes, actually. So on July 1st, Duty Ron did a video with Ed Wallace. So they're both retired NYPD police officers. They were in the field for 20 years, and Wallace specialized in forensics. So they're both detectives. And this video on July 1st, around the 2:15 mark, Ed Wallace says that Jim was seen by a local wearing Dylan's hat. I don't feel that they would put that information out there if it wasn't verified by someone. They do have a good relationship with Candace. They've had her on their show before. And I'm sure they probably also talk with detectives at times, or maybe they even talk to a local that saw it firsthand. But either way, I don't believe that they would put that out there if it weren't true. Obviously, this Jim guy has not been deemed a suspect by police, but if he was really wearing Dylan's hat, that seems highly suspect. And the other thing that they had mentioned in their July 1st video is that as a detective, you would always start with the people closest to Dylan and then work your way out. So Jim lived very close in a trailer to the grain shed, which is the last place that Dylan potentially was. So close that it's like literally right next to it. So the other 2 things that I want to show you, I'm going to show you the grain shed. This is from Google Earth. So I was on the phone with another content creator, and I was looking at this and we were talking about, this is like 5 or 6 days ago. We were talking about Jim and how he had a trailer on the land next to the grain shed. So I looked it up and did the calculation, and it says that it was 0.06 miles from the grain shed. And then when I converted it in Google, it came out to be like 316 feet. That's extremely close. So going back to what Ed Wallace said in their video, like Jim was the closest person to Dylan and the closest person to where he may have last been. I have one more picture. This is from the family's timeline, and this shows where the grain truck was, and this is the grain shed, and then where his boots were found, and then down at the bottom, like almost directly across from the grain shed, is Jim's trailer, and that's extremely close. So, like I said, he's not a suspect, but he definitely had the ability to. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, Dylan was last heard from May 28th. The grandmother sent Dawn and Jim. Dawn is also a prior employee of Dylan. So she sent Dawn and Jim out to check on Dylan, and a flag wasn't raised until the 29th, the night of the 29th. So the family didn't make it out until the 30th when they realized that something was really wrong. There's something wrong. Dylan's missing. They went out there to search. So let's say if this guy theoretically is a suspect, he had access to this whole area for 2 days before anybody made it out. And that's enough time to hide stuff if that were the case. He's just not a suspect right now, but he is being held. I checked today. He's still there in jail. And I think I saw there's a court date for July 11th. So he's probably going to be held way longer. So as far as we know, I don't think that the police would tell anyone what they're doing if they're investigating him or not. So he may be investigated. Maybe they're investigating right now. It's also possible stuff has been found that the public is not aware of. And that's just kind of how these investigations go. But I do feel, and this is just my opinion, that he is a viable suspect. Go ahead and tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll be making more